So next bit of content that we're going to be reacting to here is a Spectrum post. Not a big one. I thought it was important to highlight this particular one because there's two Spectrum posts in a row and they kind of like lean into each other. Let's just go straight into it. Is shooting down unprepared players doing the PvE event reefing or PvP? By Cellaritas. First it was Xenothread and now at Blockade Runner. Players are targeting players who are unprepared and doing the PvE event and are not prepared for PvP. With Jumptown, it's very clear it's a PvP event. If you go to Jumptown, you want to do PvP. If you do Xenothread or Blockade Runner, you want to do PvE. Making fun of PvE events by shooting down PvE players who load or unload ships, for example, is really bad and nothing is being done about it by CIG. There are no mechanics to prevent this except PvE and PvP servers or, as in World of Warcraft, the possibility to flag yourself PvE and PvP. CIG wants to try reputation at some point, but by then many will have turned away from the game due to reckless gameplay or reckless play. I sincerely beg CIG to think about this issue. Bugs that can't be fixed are one thing, but being helplessly shot at by malicious griefers is another. I know you won't respond, but please read it anyway and give it some thought. Thank you for the game of my dreams, but don't let it be ruined because of such killjoys. I'm gonna point something out here. Starhead Federation. Isn't there something in the website advertisement that says you might be attacked by players? Yes, there is. Problem is that this is being upvoted by so many people because they come from a large org that's headed by a content creator. So they can obviously attempt to brigade it. But this is a classic example of somebody who just doesn't fucking read the box before they buy. This is not going to happen. Where the fuck is it? PvE and PvP servers aren't going to happen. There are already PvP servers in the game. That's called Arena Commander. Then you have the Persistent Universe, which is everybody. Regardless, it's not going to happen. They're considering it, providing an option to side with Xenothreat, but they haven't put words to action for it, so I wouldn't hold my breath. Possibility to flag yourself PvE and PvP. Everybody's flagged as PvP. It's easy. That's it. You're all flagged as PvP. Just assume that you're there and you're going to get PvP. But yeah, like this particular post, wanted to bring attention to it because once again, CIG talking about the event, the Blockade Runner event, as much as they have, putting all the details in the advertisements, does not fucking matter. There are people out there that just aren't reading the fucking box, or they are reading the box and they just want to change the game to be a PvE and PvP separated gameplay space. Anti-PvP militant Care Bears. This is an example of a post by one. Really poor example, but this is a post by that. Don't let it be ruined because of such killjoys. Yes, CIG, don't let killjoys like this clown who can't fucking understand that this Blockade Runner event is a PvP event. Don't let them ruin the game because they can't fucking read. They don't understand. What's worse though is we end up seeing this sort of response here. 81 upvotes. Upvoted comment. It's actually more than what the fucking OP got. CIG devs are so out of touch with who their player base is that they root everything they do in their own preferences. We have CIG devs who want carnage and build entire new points of interest with the idea to have PvE and PvP players clash. We have a company full of PvP players who will tell you how are you going to protect your cargo while in a fucking armistice zone. Even after a decade of development, Star Citizen still lacks, I'm pretty sure they meant, lacks basic ship security such as locking doors or an ignition key so pirates can't steal your ship. You can lock your fucking doors. The doors are automatically locked. We have to shoot them open. But this is the thing is like, they don't consider that as a locked door because you can access. They want a door that nobody can open. Regardless of what you do, you can't open it. That's what they really want. That's what they mean when they say this shit. Or an ignition key so that pirates can't steal your ship. That part I'm kind of in agreement with. Shouldn't be that easy to take somebody's ship. You should have to do something more like hotwire the ship to be able to take it away, but you know, it is what it is for now. Like, you've got locking doors. This needs to come in. Star Citizen now gets a PvP extraction shooter gameplay, although Star Citizen is a game where a player's life is supposed to be meaningful death of a spaceman. Is the Zeta from Blockade sellable if you steal it? Yes, you take it to the local scrapyard of the planetary system that you're in. Despite showing on-ground security and on-ground AA defenses in their gameplay demos, no such thing was added to Outposts for the new way of cargo handling. That is true. You should be complaining about that. If that's something that you consider important, then you should. Now it's PvP. It's always been PvP. They said it was the new PvP event. It's the one replacing the previous PvP event, which was Nine Tails Lockdown, which a lot of people don't fucking seem to understand. Years after the first Xeno threat, several Siege of Orisons, Nine Tails Lockdown, etc., CIG failed to add consequences for unlawful aggressive players when they are siding with terrorist factions. It's almost like the idea of Star Citizen being a PvE game that has PvP elements to spice up player-to-player encounters got lost in translation, and Star Citizen has been tilted towards catering to PvP as first. Here's a fucking knowledge bomb that seems to fucking be missed by everybody. Star Citizen has a pillar of its gameplay that is embroiled in combat, and it does not matter if it's PvE or PvP, combat is a pillar of Star Citizen, right? Combat is a pillar of Star Citizen. It does not matter if it's against a player or an AI, you will have to deal with combat encounters. The labels of PvE player and PvP player, misnomers. Everybody is a player within the gameplay environment. How you interact with combat is a complete choice on you. But there is no way that you can engage with this game and only do or only flag yourself as a PvE player. It just doesn't exist. It's not part of the game mechanics. It's not part of the game design. If you want to do gameplay that has less interactions with players and more interactions with the environment and the AI, you can do that, but that does not isolate you from the fact that you could have a player come along and influence your gameplay in a positive or negative way. So this idea that we're PvE or PvP players is a massive misnomer. The problem, and people reacted with Snowflake, really? There we go. The problem is this part here, and it's one thing that anti-PvP, ironic because I'm using the term PvP, anti-PvP militant Care Bears latch onto, is a quote from Chris Roberts that goes to the effect of, Star Citizen is a predominantly PvE based game with PvP elements to it. You know, if you don't want to do PvP, you don't have to. Like, well, maybe not. That might not be the way that it goes for players. I would say it's more based on chances with the way that CIG has described the game further and further along in time. Your chances of a PvP based encounter go down. But a PvP, and this is another misnomer, a PvP based encounter. What does that mean? Because racing is a PvP based encounter. If you're racing other players, you're engaging in PvP. You could go into somebody's fucking Star Runner and play a game of chess against them. That's counted as PvP. No combat involved at all, but you're still engaging in PvP. Yes, I have played Eve. You don't want PvP, use offline mode in AC. There you go. Mark 9 Hawk dropping truth bombs. The true PvE servers are Arena Commander. I guess I was wrong. Arena Commander is the only environment that has true PvE servers. Yeah, like this post highlights somebody who just did not read the fucking instructions on the box and is confused as to why the thing that they got is something completely different to their expectations, and then the other anti-PvP militant Care Bears are used as an opportunity to jump on it and just start accusing CIG of not listening. No, they do have some good points, but their solution is just get rid of PvP. That's the solution here. You know, they don't want ship doors to be unlockable. If you lock a door, that's it, you can't get in. They don't want you to be able to fly their ship. No solution given. They're not sitting there saying, hey, you know, like the ship doors should take a lot more effort to open up, or like a player should not just be able to get in the chair of my ship and just fly away. You know, they should have to do something in order to gain that level of capability. I agree with that point, but they don't make that because they don't fucking want that. They don't want that sort of shit at all. They just complain about players who do combat that attack other players and just say, get rid of them. That's what they say. And that's what this fucking clan is doing too. A blockade runner is a fucking PvP event. CIG's designed it to be PvP. You being unprepared for players attacking you is entirely your fault. Go find the closest reflective surface that you can find and take a hard look at the image that you see in the reflection, and you'll see that the thing staring back at you is the reason why you failed to do anything or achieve anything in that encounter. This sort of shit is a reason why there needs to be the counter voice. The game is broken. Yeah, but that's par for the course, really. All right, let's bounce over here. So, we're actually going to go straight into the next one, because this leans into a point that I was making during the previous Spectrum post, so I kind of want to keep this going. So this is the next Spectrum post that we're going to. They actually get a developer response. Well, actually, it's a community manager responding to them. This one is titled, "Nothing to prevent players from sitting at cargo outposts stealing everybody's loot or everyone's loot fully protected by armistice." By Spaceline. Seriously? I mean, seriously? Day one, players already camping in armistice cargo outposts waiting for players to spawn in cargo to use ship tractor beams and simply just take the cargo onto their ship, and there is nothing you can do about it. You can't attack them. You can't get the cargo back. You can't do a single thing about this. You might as well have named this patch Dead Cargo or Stolen Cargo, because cargo is pretty much dead / stolen on arrival. No crime stat, no cargo protection, no turrets, no locked freight in an armistice zone. Seriously, it's like you guys didn't even try, and I 100% mean that, because it looks like that. People called this an issue from the start, and here we are. Second, the cargo missions even don't work. They're not spawning in the cargo, and then if you manually purchase the cargo yourself, there isn't even a way to turn it in. You put it in the elevator and the quest never completes. So 2 points of failure on the new cargo mission. This isn't some rage post. Could have fucking fooled me. This is the post that is pointing out the blatantly obvious oversight happening. Simple fixes. Place turrets to take out ships and on-foot players at mining / cargo outposts who get a crime stat or arrive with one. It's an armistice zone. Instant crime stat if you pick up someone else's cargo you're not grouped with. Then the issue get auto solved from 1. Or remove all armistice zones, allow players to fight it out for cargo. But literally, you guys didn't even attempt to fix this issue people have called out. And now look, you got people in cutlasses / caterpillars camping out cargo outposts, just stealing cargo. So, yeah, I do too, Hazard. Like, I agree with this person completely. Like, the cargo mission's not even working. Like, we've always had issues going from a PTU patch to a live patch. Something breaks that you didn't encounter in the PTU. Don't know why. It shouldn't happen, but it does. That's nothing new. The fact that the cargo missions broke, it's kind of like, well, it was either that or the freight elevators were going to break. They can fix the cargo missions a lot quicker than the freight elevators, I guess. Is it a problem? Yeah, it should be working, but to me, that's a nothing burger in comparison to the first problem. Because the cargo mission's not working is a temporary problem that can eventually be fixed. The first problem is systematic. It's a design error and requires more work and effort to actually address, right? Like, this is a design error that needs to be addressed, and CIG can't really do much about it. Like, the solutions Olmate gives here, the simple fixes, that won't work. Like, you can implement it. Here's the problem though. Place turrets to take out ships and on-foot players at mining and cargo outposts who get a crime stat on arrival with one. Or arrive with one. Alright, you get a crime stat at the outpost. What for? Taking cargo. You can already get that. If there is player cargo on a ship, you can get a criminal charge for stealing. It's for property theft. You're taking their cargo off the cargo deck of their ship. You get a criminal charge for it, as long as you're in range of comm array. That's already a thing. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Problem is that it's a minor infraction, so you don't end up with a crime stat for it. You need to move multiple pieces of cargo before you even get level 1 crime stat. Here's the next problem though. Level 1 and 2 crime stat don't aggro security forces. So what this person is inadvertently hinting at, and they probably don't understand this, is that if you take somebody's cargo, you need to get a crime stat level that makes it so that security forces will become aggressive to you, so that you can satisfy their second condition. Instant crime stat if you pick up someone else's cargo group with. Now, when they say instant crime stat, are they talking about 1, 2, or 3? Well, if they want the turrets to engage the player and take out their ships, then it needs to be a level 3. And that's a problem, because some players out there will leverage this to their advantage. What happens if I know that I'm going to get a level 3 crime stat? I'll go into the other player's ship. I'll then pull a box off the fucking cargo deck so that I get a level 3 crime stat. I'm on that player's ship. The turrets start engaging that ship and destroy it. That comes from understanding how the systems are designed when it comes to dealing with players with a criminal charge. Remove all armistice zones, allowing players to fight it out for cargo. That won't work either. You just handed the advantage over to the pirates. Guess what's going to happen to you, mate, when you call your cargo up? Pop. Fucking, you're not going to see the scope glint because you're too busy looking at the terminal. Like, it doesn't work. This is why long-term reputation actually matters. This is why, like, CIG, and I've actually been bringing this up for over a year now, like CIG needs to start implementing security measures to help empower players to be able to deal with situations like this. Turrets can engage hostile action without a crime stat 3, so could mark a cargo thief as hostile. Still doesn't stop me from running onto the bloody target ship and then getting it destroyed and fucking them over further. Like, that's the thing, is like, if you make it so that players can pull their weapons out inside an armistice zone, everybody will pull their weapons out when they're in an armistice zone. Unless there's an AI entity that's overwatching everybody that makes pulling your weapon out when nobody's hostile a hostile act to engage you. But once again, using turrets is a double-edged sword, because if I go hide on their ship, CIG has one or two choices: tell the turret not to engage or let the turret engage. Never saw. Not sure if I'm getting cynical, but them not even getting cargo elevators right reduced my expectations to 0. I'd say that's a bit cynical. Like, I've been tracking this project for years, man. I don't set my expectations too high to try and mitigate me getting that cynical. Security NPCs reacting to unlawful actions is a solution, yes, until you go do a bunker on a server with 3 FPS or 5 FPS even, and you realize that the AI is absolutely useless. Like, the solutions exist, right? Like, there's plenty of solutions, plenty of games that CIG could look at and just pull the solutions in. They're not going to work 100% of the time. And the answer to this, and you know, ironically, you guys have been giving solutions and they're all good solutions, but the thing is that they're all part of the same solution. And that's the problem with what the position that we're in now, is that we can't just have this, you know, whole, just put turrets there and give people a crime stat or make them hostile, right? Like, there needs to be layers of security there. So there has to be on-foot AI that can go into another player's ship in case you decide to go in there. Okay, the turrets, if they pick up that a player's hostile, but they've gone onto a ship that they don't own, the turret should not engage that ship. Okay, the players who are inside that armistice zone should be allowed to pull out their own S weapons. But if they use them against a player who's not hostile, they should end up with a crime stat and the AI should turn on them. But that leads into the next point. How do you tell that a player is hostile? Because the current marker system that we have only works for party members. Players that aren't in your party aren't marked. AI that's not in your party aren't marked. CIG could add a marker above the player's head. They could do that, but that means that they've got to program that in. And that's what I mean, is like, the solution to this problem requires a lot more time and effort put into it. And CIG should have been doing this over a year ago. As soon as they started planning out the freight elevators at outposts and how they were going to do it, they should have recognized the problems that was going to come about because of it, and then started working towards implementing the solutions so that players could deal with the problem themselves, or systems would be in place to deal with it. This solution has to be multifaceted. It has to be layered. Okay, players should be allowed to pull out their weapon. If there's a hostile that they've got to deal with, then yes, they should be allowed to pull out their weapon inside an armistice zone and deal with the hostile, but they need to be able to be informed of who the hostile actually is. Just like there should be AI present, because the first thing that may happen to that player is that whoever's trying to steal their cargo, they go to take their cargo, right? Old mate who owns the cargo goes, oh shit, he's trying to steal my stuff, pulls out a gun. The guy who's trying to take the cargo just swings his tractor beam with the fucking box on it and just crushes him. Then what? Cargo hauler's on his own. How is the criminal going to get stopped? That's where AI needs to step in. I don't know, like, that's a bit, like, once again, that's a bit cynical. I think CIG has an idea of what they want to do. It's just being able to, like you did point out, they're running at maximum capabilities. So, you know, other things that they consider a higher priority. But realistically, players do need to make more noise about these particular problems. And we've been saying this for years, like Sorrel brings it up. Armistice zones are not a good idea. Like, the hard armistice zones that we have put you at a significant disadvantage. Soft armistice zones are the way to go. Like, armistice zones will never go away. They'll just change from what we know them now. The armistice zone will still exist. Everybody will be expected that you do not pull your weapons out, you do not do any hostile actions. Do not attack anyone, do not hurt anyone, but don't try and drug people. If you do any of those things, the AI security will come over and deal with you. You'll end up with a criminal charge, end up in Klesher, whatever they want to do. On the flip side is that if a player does get marked as hostile, every other player random should be allowed to engage. That's the way I believe it should be. And what that does is it creates an environment where it's like, there's a bit of tension there, but it's like, you know, a social contract that everybody has, just like we all have in real life. Let's not murder each other and we'll just get on with our lives. If you start a fire in its own Dobbs, well, if you manage to get away, like if you do it in a corner and nobody notices you starting the fire, I reckon you should get away with it. Eversaw, I feel like their communication is also abysmal again. When they said at SitCon that people from Squadron 42 will move over to the PU, most people expected a bigger boost in development than we actually got. Yeah, no, I get that. Problem is that the people that they pulled from Squadron 42 across to Star Citizen, it was just like for the features that were already in Squadron 42. So we got the UI, we got the updated Moby-Glass map and all that. You know, we're getting the combat changes, the flight model, some of the new environment stuff, but like even then, it's not much. Like there's mechanics that we have in Star Citizen that actually have no bearing in Squadron 42 at all, right? Like they have no impact in Squadron 42. So those are the dedicated Star Citizen developers. Those are the ones that are really going to be the ones, you know, doing the impactful and meaningful stuff. The ones who are coming across from Squadron 42, it's going to take them time before they integrate into the persistent universe teams. And the first thing that they're going to be doing, obviously, is bringing across all the shit from Squadron 42, putting it into Star Citizen, and then getting it to work. Make the landing pad with a known ship on it a trespassing zone, maybe. You could do that, but then, like, you need to be able to warn players, hey, you're not allowed on here. Hey, it's an idea. Like, it's a possible idea. Like, they can differentiate between, you know, the landing pad and not being on the landing pad, so that you can use your tractor beam on the landing pad but can't use it off of it in an armistice zone. So it's not a bad idea, but the fact of the matter is like this solution is multi-layered, and CIG really needed to be, you know, introducing the layers to the security system, you know, early than what we got for the cargo stuff. Any solution comes too late for the victim, right? AI guards, turrets and such. If I get shot by another player, none of that matters to me. Well, this is something I've already thought about as well. And this is where like we actually need a downed but not out system before we go incapacitated, right? So right now, you take damage, you go down, you're incapacitated, you're pretty much useless, and then somebody comes along, shoots you in the head, and you're dead. That incapacitated state is supposed to allow somebody to come over to you, get you back up, and get you going. What I want to see them introduce is a state before you go into incapacitated, and you know, other games have it down but not out. You know, Call of Duty is famous for it, so it'll just piss off all the bloody the simulation purists. But I think in this case we need it in Star Citizen, because you're not always going to be able to rely on another player or another entity being able to get to you in time to revive you, right? So if you take damage, you go down. You can produce, you know, a pistol, or you can pull out a med pen to try and get yourself back up so that you can get up and run to cover. I don't agree, time to kill is already long enough to where you can counter someone shooting at you. Not if you're on a terminal. Here's the problem with that mentality, Dobbs, is that you're under the impression that you're on even ground with that person. You're in a position where you're interacting with a terminal and somebody comes along and just starts shooting at you. You're going to go down. Doesn't matter that the time to kill is longer. They'll be able to put more bullets into you before you realize what's going on. That's the reality. You need the ability to recover as a solo player. Like, that should be something that's encouraging. The game designers want the player to stay within the gameplay space. They want to try and mitigate as best as they can the player being pulled out of that gameplay space, right? If a player goes down and they end up incapped and they're just sitting there waiting for somebody to come revive them, but they've got a respawn point that can, you know, bring them back into the fight within the next 3 minutes, why would they wait for somebody else to come get them when they could just backspace themselves, wake up, respawn, grab their kit, get back into the fight? So the idea behind server desync and lag on player side, right? Well, if it's two players, who's the server desync and lag? Which player is that got the advantage? The idea behind ending up in this position where you just end up incapped and you're waiting for somebody else just won't fly in the middle of fights. Especially like if you got a respawn close by, players won't want to deal with that. And if they've got a respawn that's really far away and they go down and there's no way of anybody coming to, you know, get them back up, they're just going to be like, fuck this, Alt F4. They'll just exit the game. And that is not what a game designer wants to happen. You do not want your player to leave the game, all right? You're a fucking dopamine dealer when you're a game designer, and you want to keep fucking getting them hitting those dopamine highs. So you hit them, well, they get hit, they go down, but they're not out. They're able to get themselves back up, but they got to make a choice, right? They can either pull their pistol out, try and take out the threat before it gets them, or they can quickly pull their med pen out, hit themselves with that so that they can get back up, limp over to cover, and start fighting. Right? That's the idea behind the whole down but not out system. That's why games introduce it, so that you get a second chance. If you get blindsided, it's a second chance. You can counter someone that gets a drop on you. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a time where, like, outside of Star Marine, in the PU, getting the drop on the other player is the key to winning the fight. Because in Star Marine, the way that the maps are designed is that it's easier to find where you're being engaged from. In the PU, you could be anywhere. You could be on your ship, you could be on a landing pad, you could be in the middle of a fucking forest, you could be in a ditch, you could be getting shot from any direction, and you got no idea where it's coming from, and you'll get dropped before you realize where the fire's coming from. But that's a reality. That's an inevitability that CIG has to deal with. And the down but not out system is not about extending the gameplay, it's about creating the sense for that player that, hey, I've still got a chance to be able to recover from this particular scenario. Well, that's great, Dobbs, but that's you. That's not everyone. Like, not everybody's gonna have that instinct to, like, oh shit, I'm getting shot at, quick run, med pen. So you find cover, hide, look for where the incoming fire's coming from. And that's what, like, if you're getting shot by one player, what happens if there's two? What happens if there's three? You get dropped. Like, even the higher time to kill doesn't deal with the fact that once you go down, that's it. The incapacitated system might as well not be there, with how inconvenient it is to be stuck there waiting for somebody to come rescue you. If you are in this position, and I've been in this position plenty of times where I've just been blindsided, was doing something, got blindsided, dropped, normally by the AI because I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings, and a door opened up while I was in the middle of a fucking inventory screen, and by the time I got out of that, I was down and I was incapped, and the AI stopped shooting me and just left me there. You know, I could put a medical beacon up, might get a player to show up in 15 minutes, probably not. And what are they going to do when they do show up? Take my shit, more than likely. Take my shit, put a bullet in me. Why players don't stick around for the medical beacons? You're better off giving players the option to fight back. You're better off just giving the player the option to try and self-recover. Keep the incapacitated system there. Possible for the average player. You're not teaching average players. You're teaching players that are more than average. The average player is just going through Star Citizen, doing whatever. When you start focusing on a specific career path, you're starting to increase skills within that career path. So you'll start increasing your skills above the average. You're not training people that are average, you're training the above average. But this is all about keeping the player in the gameplay space. That's what it needs to be. And that's part of this system here, that, like, we're talking about security and the result. You know, like, all the stuff that needs to be put in place so to deal with the player who's the criminal after the fact that they've done the hostile act, right? They've taken the cargo, they've shot the other player, whatever. The security won't engage them until afterwards, not until long-term reputation starts impacting, you know, players' movement throughout the system. Because I fully expect that as a notorious pirate, that if I go to certain systems, if I go to certain cities, if I go to certain outposts, certain space stations, that I will be treated differently. I either will be shot at, or they will not let me on board, or, you know, they'll try and arrest me for criminal charges that are outstanding in another system. I expect those things to happen, but that's only a layer to the security system, and that's where, like, the counter systems for, like, fake IDs and that sort of thing need to come in, so that I am able to move through those systems, through those areas, and be able to, like, still interact with parts of the gameplay space, but at the risk that if I get caught, I'm in a fucking world of hurt. I, as a dedicated medic, and rather quickly dropped, people just backspace before you get there, even if you're on alert. Yeah, there's an unfortunate reality, Aiden, because people don't want to wait. You know, you got to think about the amount of time that somebody spent getting to that point before they got taken down and incapped. They're like, all right, I woke up in my bed, I took an elevator, I went down to the Galleria to pick up some extra equipment, went into my mobiGlas, picked up a mission, took an elevator to get to the Habs and hangars, ASOP terminal, called up a ship, took another took another elevator to get to the hangar, got into my ship, called up the ATC, took off from the station, opened up my mobiGlas, at my destination, quantum traveled to my destination, I flew the rest of the way, landed, got out of my ship, went into the, let's say it's a bunker mission, went into the bunker, started engaging the AI, got domed when I was looting one of them. The entire process up until that point could have taken 40 minutes, easily taken 40 minutes. And then they've got to wait 15 minutes, up to 15, more than likely 30 minutes for a player to come down and just hit them with a med pen. Like, this is one of those things where the design intent versus how the players interact with it misaligned, because the in-cap state does work when you've got other people with you, right? And you should be playing the game with other people. It's an MMO, the team-based game. Should be playing with other people, but you don't have to. And one of the risks that you're taking is that if you do go into that environment by yourself, that you could end up getting downed and you are in this position where you got to wait for someone else. But should that be a thing? Should they always have to wait for someone else? When I suggest the down but not out system, I know that people are still talking about it, but when I suggested my version of the down but not out system, you've got one chance. You get up, you hit yourself with the med pen, you get up, you need to get away, get into cover so that you can actually heal yourself properly. The first thing that you hit yourself with is just enough to get you up and away so that you can heal yourself. If you don't get yourself healed in time, you go down, you're in-capped. You have to wait for someone else. It is not like you go down but not out, get up, run, get down again, down but not out, get up, run into the next place, down but not out, hit yourself with the med pen, get up, down but not out. It's one chance, and it's to force the player to go, all right, I fucked up, but I can get myself out of here. I'm just catching up on what you guys are talking about. Well, that's the thing, Devasaur. That's actually what I suggested. But the thing about that second chance pen is that you can only use it once within a specific time frame. However, CIG decides to make it go for that long, and you can only use it once within a certain time period. If you try and do it again, you just OD and you're in-capped. It's just about getting yourself back up, getting yourself out of danger so that you can reset the fight if you can. So there may be times where like you get down by the AI and you go to do it and they just down you again straight away because you're surrounded by AI, right? 24 hours in that pen? Maybe not. I'd say like 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a good time. There's going to be other factors, guys, that you got to take into account, right? That once, like, there's only so many injuries that your player can take before you need to go to a med bed. How many times can you take a tier 3 injury, a tier 3 left arm injury, tier 3 right arm injury, tier 3 leg injury, right? There's a point where you'll have to sit there and be like, all right, I need to withdraw from here. I'm clearly over my head. But yeah, we're kind of going on a tangent here. I did actually make a Spectrum post about this. There's actually, see if I can track it down later. But the point of that particular idea is that it leans, like, it's a system that leans into providing better security to players. And it's a point that I also allude to in my latest State of Piracy post, is that piracy gameplay in of itself is pretty much in a good place mechanically. From a gameplay perspective, in terms of fun, it's not that great. You don't like the idea of down but not out and in-cap. That's basically 3 HP pools you have to dump into a player to kill them, and that's not good. I'll take one or the other. So what? You got to put like 3 HP pools as opposed to 2? Like, how much of a health pool do you think down but not out is going to have? Like, it's like Call of Duty's down but not out, where you've got like 1 or 2 shots left in you and then you're dead. So down but not out, okay? When you're in a team fight and you have to thirst people, yes. Well, you've got teammates that can do that as well. When a team's fighting together, everybody should be shooting the same target. So like if one person drops somebody and they go into down but not out and they're reloading, your teammate can finish them off. That's literally just a personal preference that is like, I don't want to spend the extra couple of bullets to finish someone off. Killing somebody when they're in-capped is not much. The down but not out state would be the same thing. And the amount of threat that somebody is when they're in down but not out is like, they're going to be making a choice, right? I can either try and heal myself to get myself out of dodge, get up and get myself out of dodge so I can reset this fight, or I can try and pull my pistol out, engage whoever's near me to get them to push away, then heal myself and try and get out of dodge. It's to give them a chance of, a fight back and keep them in the fight so that players aren't going to sit there and go, what, fuck this, Alt F4. Yeah, go ahead, Aiden. Feel free. I'm a big fan of like providing players options, and as far as I'm concerned, players should be kept in the gameplay space as much as possible. When dealing with security problems like this, I can tell you now, the first thing that players are going to complain about is they'll be like, it's great that you guys put the security system stuff in, but now my ship's just there with my cargo on the elevator and I'm respawning at Everest Harbor and it's going to take me 10 minutes to get back to my ship, right? Well, the only chance that you get with in-cap is if somebody else gets you up. Like, that's the thing, is like, if you end up in this position and you go, first chance you get taken down, you're down but not out, it's like, all right, I'm able to withdraw from the fight, get away. Or you go into down but not out, but then you get hit again and then you're in the in-cap state. What you're calling the third chance has to come from someone else. But that's the thing, is like, that third chance isn't guaranteed. And it just means that it's like, all right, they're down but not out. Now they're in cap, now they're dead. Like, from a game design perspective, there's no way that there is a downside to that. Bullets are cheap. It also means like you have to commit to engaging someone and making sure that they do go down. That you can't just like, oh, cool, domed them, one more shot, now they're dead. If anything, I would be getting rid of in-cap state. If I had the choice between down but not out and the in-cap state, I'd off the in-cap state completely. It is the most useless state to put players in, because that person just gets in-capped and then that's it. It's like, oh, can't do anything, why would I stick around? Oh, death is spaceman, I can just respawn, I don't care about my avatar that much. Oh, well, you're 15 minutes away. Well, then I'm just going to alt F4 and go do something else for the night. And that sentence right there for a game designer is the worst thing that you want to be hearing. Respawn in any medical bed now? I'm okay with that. Like, it's not a huge advantage being able to respawn in a medical bed because you don't have any kit. It's not like you're respawning with your kit on. You're respawning, you can pull out the bloody white suit and your starter suit and helmet. It's not going to help you. You still got to run back to your kit, or you got to prepare ahead of time, make sure you got extra kit there. And if you do that, then, you know, throw the extra kit on. Security is important. The down but not out system helps with keeping players in the gameplay space. That's kind of going back to this point that we'd made earlier, is the things that CIG needed to do, this all needed to start 12 months ago before we got this particular patch, where they were introducing the security measures that helped players deal with hostile situations beyond their own actions being the only thing that can mitigate the situation. So them being able to, you know, call on AI being present at the outposts, turrets, guns, missiles, and walking NPCs. Well, in this context though, Devasaur, I know that much, but in this context here, this situation was preventable. This entire situation was preventable by having layered security systems and additional mechanics. Buying and selling cargo is really dead now. Yeah, like, there's not many people doing it, man. Not many people doing it at all. You know, old mate suggested some fixes with turrets or an instant crime stat, pointed out the flaws with it. Things that you can do to make it worse for the other player. You should have been addressing these security issues about a year ago. I'd say a year ago, because it would give them time to implement, iterate, and have something that's a bit more robust by the time we have the cargo outposts. The current state of the freight elevators and things like that. I feel like 12 months would give them sufficient time to tweak it and get it functional so that it's actually worth having. And removing the armistice zones, allowing players to fight it out for cargo, I can tell you now, as a fucking pirate, it's not going to go the way that you want. It just won't. Like, I'm down for it, man. I'm 100% down for that. Remove all the armistice zones. Make sure you come prepared and strapped, because I will. I'll be rolling deep with my boys. But I got 300 upvotes. So a lot of players, like, on Spectrum, 300 upvotes is actually, like, not bad, especially considering this particular post is what, 24, almost 21 hours old, 21 and a half hours old. So not even a day old, and it's got 303 upvotes. So clearly, like, this is affecting a lot of players. And cargo missions aren't that big of an issue. Like, they could remove the cargo missions and just have players do cargo hauling again, or cargo trade, and this particular issue here would still be the same problem, which is what CIG needs to address. All right, that's pretty much it for that one there.